Hello everyone, you're here with your host Mel Flowers, and today we are going to be channeling our feminine, most beautiful energy because we are going to be talking about Kali Uchis' most recent work, Sincerely. Now, if you know a thing or two about me, is that I love Kali Uchis. That woman released Orquídeas in 2023, and let me tell you, one, it's so beautiful, and two, I made a video about it in the past, so not to be shameless about my own stuff, but you should check it out. And this album is no exception because Sincerely is the kind of album that makes you feel things. It made me feel powerful, it made me feel soft, it made me want to cry, and it's just the kind of album that it's so introspective that you can help but see yourself in it. Instead of jabbering my mouth about incoherences because I haven't talked anything about the album, let's jump right into our review of Sincerely by Kali Uchis. Sincerely is Kali Uchis' fifth studio album. It came out on May 7th. It is also part of a creative trilogy that she announced around 2023 when Red Moon in Venus was coming out with this Instagram story. Red Moon in Venus was the first one. It was then followed by Orquídeas, which at the time we only knew it was going to be in Spanish. And then she said that the fifth album that she would be releasing was going to be the finisher, which is Sincerely. The album debuted at number 2 on Billboard's 200. It is her third album in reaching a top 10 status, which slay, cause have you seen the kind of music that Kali Uchis does? Put all of those albums in the top 10. It has been said that the album has a very retro pop approach to it. It has this very jazzy R&B, and of course, it has her signature dreamy alternative production. Because of this, the album does ignite a very nostalgic feel to it, not just because it borrows sounds from different decades, but also because it returns to Kali Uchis' soul music roots, which she herself has said that it's a more elevated version of her origins, right? Another characteristic of Sincerely is that it's a very mature and intimate album, and that is because Kali Uchis' main intention was to make it autobiographical. And you are able to tell on that as soon as you hit that first song because, why do I want to cry? It is incredibly introspective, it is existential, and Kali takes the chance to talk about her life and the many changes it has gone through. Motherhood, having this long-term relationship with Don Toliver, and, of course, and sadly, her mother's passing. Each song from the album feels like a letter that Kali took the chance to pour her mind and her heart into each track, and with the last thing that she got from her mom being her letters before her passing, it only made sense to name the album Sincerely, both as a sign-off to each track and as a tribute to her mom, to which she has come on record saying that it only felt right to name it or to dedicate the album to her mother. Self-written, executively produced, with a cover provoking such a feminine yet intimate and dreamy aura that we have come to associate Kali with, to the point that it has become her practical brand, we sort of see the themes that Kali has got going on for this album, so without further ado, let's break them down song by song. Heaven is a Home, it's such a strong start to the album. It's a very angelic track, it's very delicate, and the first time that I heard it, it felt that I was sleeping in the cloud and somebody woke me up and hold me by my hand as we walk through the clouds and just look down on earth. The start of the song, it's just magnificent. What do you mean we're starting with violins and glissando? 10 out of 10. I love the start, and that is such a good idea to put it as the opener for your album. And it can be very hard for an opening track to be just delicate and melodic, which Heaven is a Home is not, because right when you get to the chorus, you get this explosion. It's simply beautiful, and especially with her delivery, Kali has very fine vocals in some parts, and other parts she has a much bolder voice. Heaven is a Home is about this dialect of knowing that you are at a better place in life because you're facing different problems, and that is because facing different problems is a sign of progress. It's a very vulnerable, grateful song talking about how it's easy to be overwhelmed by the world as we try to make our way through it, and that alone makes us want to just let the world pass through us. However, in this song, Kali also looks at the bright side. I am at a different point in my life, I can make it through another one. Knowing that, it makes it easier to be freed from a pessimistic mindset, creating a small haven even if it's just in your mind or with someone else. When motherhood was dawning in on her, she realized that she needed to make her intentions with the song clear and decided that it would be the following, quote, to undo the generational trauma she acquired through her immigrant family and create what she calls her own bubble of protection and light. Again, this is such a beautiful opener for the album. It's very strong, it's delicate at the same time, and it almost feels like a premonition. It really does tell you what you're getting into, so I don't have much to say. It's beautiful. Sugar Honey Love was one of the songs that captivated me from the first listen. As soon as I heard those first seconds of the song, I immediately saved it into my playlist and I still hear it to this day because it's a beautiful song. I think it's very playful, not in the way that it makes me feel empowered like other of her songs do. There's some kind of gratefulness that comes from Sugar Honey Love. The song talks about the bitter fact of losing people you didn't want to lose, even if it means making way more genuine connections in the process. And that is because it is very emotionally draining to know who you can trust and who you shouldn't. During the listening party for Sincerely, Kali shared that, quote, I always felt very much like cursed for coming from my family. I always felt like, oh, nothing good will come to me because of where I come from. I was carrying the burden of a lot of things that had nothing to do with me and things, that essentially is more so like generational trauma. The other side of the song is that she compared it to being a woman in the industry, that as soon as you're gaining popularity or a fan base, or you're just finding that time to be on the spotlight, people are going to try and tear you down and they're going to try harassing you. Going back to the song, it's a very dreamy psychedelic ballad. The way that Kelly sings in the song is very delicate, almost fragile, and it reminds me of the way that she sings in Red Moon in Venus. While the song does focus on the idea of losing people that you couldn't trust, the other side of it, it's about genuine love, genuine connection, and it doesn't really have to be a romantic connection of the sorts, but it shows how love can cure wounds that had yet to heal from such mistrust, and it helps you bask in the soft and sweet parts of love. Very sweet song, and as I said, is one of my favorites. It's going right into the top of our tier right here. Lose My Cool introduces a very interesting concept for the album, and that is having a part A and part B of songs within the same song. Part 1 is a very lovey-dovey, slow dance in a romantic movie where you are realizing that you have feelings for somebody else. It's about wanting to forget all the social cues when it comes to courtship to truly see the person in front of you for who they are rather than the appearance that they're trying to keep up. Who cares if I seem desperate? I like you and I want you to know it. Very dreamy, it's about romanticizing love and rejecting all these love games. It's the heart expressing a desire for genuine deep connections. The transition into part 2 of the song is very sudden and it feels like a moment of realization or fear as the guitar ascends into pitch and we fall into this reverb effect that it's as if we're going into Kali's mind. Part 2 is much subtle as far as infatuation goes. It's quieter, but it's vulnerable and almost confused side of love. This is where we go into Kali's mind as she realizes just how much love has overtaken her and how vulnerable it's making her out to be. Despite the first instinct being to live and try to regain that control over herself, she can't really do that because she's really yearning for love. And we see this contrast between part 1 and part 2 with the lyrics, tell the kids to do what they want and never care how it looks, whereas in part 2, I don't know what you've done to me, I don't know what you want from me. The song comes up together with the lyrics, don't let go, just keep holding on to love. All I do, all I know is keep holding on to love. Lose My Cool is about the two sides of love. The giddy, lovey-dovey feelings you want to bask in and falling for the person for who they are unapologetically and meaningfully, and the much more vulnerable and contradictory side of love as it overtakes you and it disrupts your life, and yet you can't help but still want it. It's Just Us is a very playful song in my opinion. It has a suave bass, a melodic guitar, and funnily enough, the first time that I heard it, the way that Kelly sings in terms of a metric was very similar to how she sings It's Okay to Feel Like a Fool. The song talks about multiple hardships, being on your own from a young age, keeping things to yourself that force you to become stronger as they affect your relationship with yourself and the world. However, it opens the idea of love as a remedy to these hardships, not just love, but connection as a whole, as we see in the chorus. The other thing that I will note about Kali's vocals in the song is that I love how she sings the part, the things that used to drive me out of my mind turn meaningless. It's like going in a spiral and we go down and down and down until we land into the chorus, and it's such a, it's art. As the song progresses, we see this journey of introspection. What are the things that hurt us? Why do we let these things blind us as we sacrifice our self-worth? Are these things even worth it in the first place? It's not a love song in the traditional sense, but it is a song that paints love as healing. It asks listeners to rethink their lives in regards to how the outside world affects us and how love can free us by prioritizing ourselves and peace. Love is built to last. The external and material world is not. There is also this fun callback to Heaven is a Home. Could life be heaven on earth after the hell we've been through? To heaven on earth may fade away, but you and I are forever to stay in love. It could signify how Kali realizes that it isn't about a physical haven, but finding sanctuary in someone. It highlights the idea that connection matters more than anything external. I don't need Post Me to be telling you where this song is gonna be landing in our chart. I'm gonna tell it to you right now. It's gonna go into the highest tier. It's just us. It's just art. And speaking about art, we are going into For You. This song is my current favorite one of the album. The synths at the start, the I ate that though. Hold on. I actually ate that. The synths at the beginning of the song are just beautiful. They're really, they put you in a trance as soon as they hit you. It's very dreamy. Again, we're going into that psychedelic shoegaze vibe. Unlike It's Just Us, For You, it's 100% a love song. We don't know what kind of love, considering that there is an ambiguity whether this is about her partner or her child, but at the very least we can say that it's about agape love, unconditional, altruistic, and of course everlasting. For You, it's about wanting to do anything for her love, listing the lengths that Kali will go out for them, and seeing it as a blessing to be able to love so fully and give so much of herself to them, even if it gets too consuming at times. And we see that in the chorus, love is a gun, I'll bite the bullet. Wasn't that enough for you? I do it again. Somehow it's good for the soul. The sound just brings the song all together, the psychedelic atmosphere that builds from the get-go with the synths, how slow and alluring the beat is, the chorus being this explosion of dreaminess, and her vocals just add to this delicate aspect of the song, and how she sometimes dips into her lower register. My God. Again, this is my current favorite song of the album. It puts me in a trance every time I listen to it. It makes me want to fall in love and be unapologetic about it. God, when is it my turn? But I love it. In the meantime, this song will have to do top of the chart for whatever chart we have going on right now. Silk Lingerie is where we start to change things up a bit, not because we're changing our tempo or because we are changing drastically of genre like we have done in Orquídeas, but it is because it's a song that it's slightly more seductive, alluring, a little bit more darker, at least in terms of its sound. Kali herself said it, quote, I love that this song just feels like really mermaidy, very siren, very haunting, very dark. I've seen people on TikTok saying it's giving Lana del Rey. I definitely agree. I wouldn't really say mermaid because mermaids I think are a little bit lighter, dreamier, and that is what we have seen with the previous 5 songs. And Silk Lingerie does go into something a little bit more darker. And it's not just in sound, the lyrics are also incredibly vulnerable, because Kali's voice shines throughout this entire song, especially towards the end as she vocalizes. Silk Lingerie brings back the idea of self-worth that we saw in It's Just Us. It brings back insecurities that come to surface during a relationship, especially if you don't feel at level with the object of your affections. I'm not perfect like you, and I am overwhelmed by the reality of you with me. Why are you with me in the first place? It's both about being in awe at the person who seems to love you unconditionally, but also doubting yourself as to why this person loves you in the first place. Sound being alluring and seductive like Silk Lingerie itself, the lyrics are extremely intimate and soft, and that is what the beginning of the song means. You wanna see me in my silk lingerie illustrates not physical intimacy, but emotional. It's to bear the most delicate and vulnerable parts of yourself, and opening yourself up while at the face of self doubt can be pretty difficult, which is what the second verse alludes to. It's not a pessimistic song by any means. Yes, self doubt can come up and does come up in relationships, and so do insecurities that make the journey all the more confusing. But Silk Lingerie wraps them all up in this alluring atmosphere, and it has this sweet undertone of wanting to be worthy of your partner. Shouldn't that be what love is all about? It's a very alluring song, just like any kind of lingerie would be, but once you really get to listen to it, once you really get to feel it, you can see how soft it is, just like silk lingerie. Territorial, just like Silk Lingerie, is another of the songs from Sincerely that is very alluring. It's very seductive, it's suave, and it's slightly darker and mysterious. It has a very simple production, and it's kind of a swaying song, you know what I mean? Its vocals are slightly bolder than previous songs, and it could be because this song is about being assertive. If somebody is gonna come and try to take something that is mine, and on top of that, act like nothing is wrong, you're going to bring out a new side of me. Territorial is a possessive song. At first, the song felt different from the rest because it doesn't really have this overtly vulnerable component like the rest of the songs do. That is until I notice its inner conflict. Should I hang on to the grace that I am so known for, or should I get out of character and be territorial? It's composure against confrontation, and we see the vulnerability in the way that Kali gets tempted to break character despite knowing better because relationship isn't being respected. It takes strength to protect what is yours, and it takes vulnerability to know what you're protecting. Even if it looks and it feels like a powerful and assertive song, look between the lines and you'll see that it's about someone whose emotional space is being threatened. And that, let me tell you something about Territorial, that is what drew me into the song. It's a darker song, but it doesn't really lose vulnerability. It just makes a good job at hiding it. And once again, one of my favorite ones. And I think that it is because it really stands out from the rest of the ones from the album. So, 10 out of 10. I have no notes. I love it and I'm gonna play it after this. Fall Apart is a kind of song that you can boil down to one of its lyrics. This is Earth. You don't have to be perfect here. It's about being secure in and of your relationship that even through phases and doubts, you know it's a kind of love that will be here even if you yourself fall apart. It mirrors Silk Lingerie where once again, self-worth is brought into question. Fall Apart is about not letting your relationship fall to those insecurities by embracing imperfections. For a song with lyrics so vulnerable, this is one of the boldest sounds that we have in the album, and it serves as a parallel. There is this weight in production by the synths, the bass, and the overall psychedelic rock that adds an intricate touch. It's an interesting juxtaposition that shows how there's strength in vulnerability, just as we saw in Territorial. I want assurance from my partner. I am not perfect, but I don't need that. I want to be loved for the enduring parts of myself. Towards the end of the song, Kali not only answers her own questions from the beginning in the form of reassurances, but she does so with fuller vocals as if she's singing them with her entire chest and finally accepting the reality of her relationship. Kali realizes that she is worthy of love and she is the servant of patient, unconditional love, and falling apart won't cost her her relationship. In fact, it will only make it stronger. All I can say is what I think the sweetest song of Sincerely. It's very reminiscent of the 60s soul girl group kind of sound. It's very cutesy, very sweet. Her vocals are very melodic, but also very firm. This song is about authenticity and being unapologetic about the kind of person you are. This is my life. This is how I dream. This is how I love. This is how I act, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. It's about being secure enough in your life and yourself that you prioritize that peace from other people's negativity or the way of the world. Something that I found very interesting is about how a song about self-acceptance and resilience has the sweetest sound in the entire album. All I can say as a final note of the song is that it's very reminiscent of My Love All Mine by Mitski, because both songs are about reclaiming the softest parts of yourself and denying other people the power to take them away from you, which again, not only it's a song about self-acceptance, but also about resilience and being resilient, being strong in your decision to be soft despite what the world is saying about it is a sign of strength. And that is the beauty of All I Can Say. Daggers is a song that I'm not gonna delve much into because we have the literal interpretation.
Daggers is about a girl, a friend of mine. So it's about, she gets a lot of, people that are envious of her or people that look at her some type of way, and she might not really know exactly what her worth is, and she doesn't see herself the way that I see her, and she doesn't necessarily have the things that I wish that she had.
It's about seeing your friend in a relationship where they are not valued, but they do not intend to leave it, leaving you to watch as they stay where they are despite your many, many, many wake-up calls. Even if you want to protect that friend, you know that your words are gonna get lost in their feelings. Sonically, it's a very sweet track, and that alone can represent the rose-tinted glasses that the friend is wearing towards their rather harsh and not as ideal relationship. It's soft, airy, string-forward, but there are these synths that provide this subtle melancholy along with Kali's slightly frustrated vocals that show the cracks of the situation. Said friend is doing love to see that she deserves better, and that is such a frustrating situation to be in as their friend who just wants the best for them, but in the end, you really can't do much over other people's decision. Once again, we return to A side and B side of the songs with Angels All Around Me. This song is all about spirituality, the divine, and gratefulness towards the intangible figures that still look after us, be it saints or people who are no longer with us. Part 1 is what I believe to be reaping a prayer. There's angels watching over me with little patience. I saw all the changes. Who knew life could be so sugary sweet? Cause every step I take, I know I'm not alone. The light covers me deep down to my bones. It's about being protected and guided towards a better path that does lighten the soul and transforms the self by redefining vulnerable concepts such as love. Sonically, this part is very light, delicate, angelic, but the drums are pretty playful at the beginning, so that's a very plus. Part 2 of Angels All Around Me is the prayer itself, where Kali asks the divine intervention to continue in her life. However, she still recognizes that she has to play her own part in her protection because, as she says, love is action, love is compassion. There is action in the prayer itself, but also when she talks about needing to be the change you want to see without imposing it onto others. Whereas part 1, it's about being very light and angelic, part 2, it's a little bit much more mellower sonically, and to me, at least, it's a very jazz-forward sound that makes me feel like it's nighttime. The song as a whole, it shows devotion and gratefulness towards the divine, but not without recognizing her own responsibility in being protected, showing vulnerability to humility, acceptance, and unity. Breeze is the kind of song that you want to listen to when you're overwhelmed by life. It's all about letting go of worries, letting love, any kind, be what rules your life. In a way, it's a very motivational song. Worry and fear can easily creep onto us, making us feel weak enough to forget about our own agency over them and spew that negativity onto other people to pull them down with us. Love, on the other hand, provides this calming breeze to remind us what is in our power, to affirm our freedom to follow our idea of peace. The instrumental is mellow, calming, a breeze in sound, pun intended because why wouldn't I? It's very minimal, truly R&B, and that coil that it has reflects that peace that Kali talks about when letting go to make space for love. Something that I do want to give its points to its song is that the backing vocals are truly beautiful. It has this lower pitch that complements Kali's higher one, and it's just super hermoso, banda. Está hermosa esta canción, no puedo creerlo. We're down to our last 2 songs of Sincerely, and those 2 songs are none other than our lead singles. Starting first with Sunshine and Rain. Sunshine and Rain immediately makes me want to cry because it includes a voice memo from her mother. Every time I listen to it, I want to cry. It only makes sense for the lead single to reflect the major themes of the album, love and healing. The title alone lets you know what you need to. It's about being committed to someone through sunshine and rain, how love is never wasted because it grounds us through an uncertain world. It also comments on the way that society has shamed love and empathy as weak because it makes us seem vulnerable. Yet, it is that vulnerability that helps us make genuine connections that make life a little bit more bearable. Sunshine and Rain starts rather soft, with a peaceful and almost nostalgic form of R&B, with subtle synths that let Kali's message take center stage. But it gradually gains power with these contemporary elements such as the guitar riffs or the electrical buzz that it has towards the end. Sunshine and Rain is meant to help us heal from the fear of appearing vulnerable. Vulnerability is a skill to open up to others and a requirement to grow as a person. And it paints the song as this very existential piece focusing on the vulnerability and romanticism of life. Last but not least, I Love You So Much It Hurts, and my God, does it hurt. It's a love letter that Kali wrote to her kid after giving birth. It's such a sweet song, very vulnerable. It's such a good way to close the album too. We started with a song that was very delicate, almost as a premonition, and we close with this one that seemed full circle about the themes that it touches on. Once again, we see agape love, loving to the point of being overwhelmed by it, and yet feeling that there's a part of her that has been healed because the pain finally made sense. It brought Kali to her little baby. This song makes me cry, but it's my favorite one. I love to suffer. I love to suffer. The song includes vulnerable lyrics such as "He's living proof that dreams do come true, look at you," but it also has such a vulnerable sound to it. The vocals are layered perfectly to showcase this devotion and this dreamy feeling after fantasizing for a family for so long, and we saw that in Heaven Is a Home too. Stay away from my baby, stay away from my home. That's all I ask of the world, that's all I ask of you. And then in this song, she says, "He showed me what my life was really worth down here on earth." And it's so beautiful after fantasizing about heaven the entire album. That is growth, and that makes me want to cry. It's such a great ending to the album because, again, it has a full circle moment. We opened the album asking, could heaven be on earth after the hell we've been through? Like practically searching and fantasizing for that little piece of heaven down here on earth where she has suffered so much, to finally seeing what made earth special. Love, and being unapologetic about it to the point that it hurts. Right here, you're gonna be able to see my totally not last minute done by Post Me chart of my ranking of the songs from Sincerely. But now that we have seen these, boop, gone. Let's talk about what is Sincerely about. Looking at the musical trilogy as a whole, Red Moon and Venus, Orquídeas, and Sincerely, it is no secret that one of Kali's most predominant theme is love. And while we do see it plenty in Sincerely, I would argue that it is not the most present theme in Sincerely. Healing is. The album takes a raw introspective approach by demonstrating the transformative power love has had in her life, with each song bringing to surface a vulnerable thought or experience that Kali has been through. It is that constant vulnerability that, as the album progresses, it is portrayed as a strength rather than a curse because it allows us to connect with others, to be grateful, to be and act our authentic selves, to find peace. We open the album with the question of the possibility of heaven on earth, despite all of the hardships that the latter has made us go through. Then we slowly morph into the possibility of heaven fading out whenever we are with the right person, to then wrapping it all up with seeing the value of earth despite its faults. Sincerely demonstrates it's all about healing after the world came crashing down on us, and how our softest parts of ourselves are not weak at all, but our greatest strengths when building ourselves back up. If you ask me what is my highlight of the album, I'm gonna be telling you that this album feels like an album.
It feels like a movie.
There is a clear overarching theme, story, sound to the album that brings it all together rather than just being a mixtape, as it just so happens to be the norm nowadays in the music industry. There was thought put into this album that I find it hard to play it on shuffle because its intended order flows lyrically and sonically. If you ask me about my favorite part about this album, I'm gonna tell you 100% that it was the transitions. The transitions were beautifully done. They really flow from song to song. And even then, like for the songs that are drastically different, my God, it just made me want to hear the transition over and over again. Bring them back. Kali, when she was making this album, she said, I'm gonna give them what they want, and that is transitions. So bring them back. Do not be cowards. If you are a musician, please, please, please bring transitions back. You're not gonna regret it. The work is gonna be worth it. Please, I'm gonna listen to it. I'll listen to your transitions personally. Please put them back. As a songwriter myself, I know how hard it is to write vulnerable lyrics. You're stuck between the rock and the hard place of, I want to let people know that I've been through this, but I don't want to give them too much detail. I do think that some songs are very simple with their lyrics by giving the basic idea and feeling of their message, but not exactly elaborating it with detail. I think it happened the most with Fall Apart, how she started with the questions and then she answered them back herself. Maybe it would have been better if we heard like some of those insecurities, but then again, it is very, very hard to be vulnerable. Hundreds, millions of people are going to be listening to that work. I don't need you to know what I'm struggling with, at least not in detail. I do understand that some lyrics are simple because they are dealing with very hard topics, but we cannot be too simple. However, Kali is never simple. I will always excuse her. One of the critiques that I've seen Sincerely get all of the time is that even though it is Kali Uchis' most cohesive album sonically, there isn't much variety between songs and too much cohesiveness can hinder the entire work. I found it just a little bit hard to keep up because the songs started to mesh with each other after a while, and it took me a couple listens of the album to truly distinguish one song from the other one, or at least let them shine individually, especially with how smooth the transitions are. It is a double-edged sword in her favor because while it does make the album one note at first, it makes songs like Territorial, All I Can Say, Circling Jure stand out because they deviate from the general feel but not the sound entirely. You're able to pick them apart instantly. The thing about sonic cohesiveness is that, in my opinion, I do think that Kali has achieved this before, allowing albums like Red Moon and Venus have different fluctuations with each song, allowing them to differ from each other while still having something that brings them all together in the end. Sincerely, while amazingly consistent with its concept and its sound, doesn't allow its songs to shine individually all of the time, at least during the first couple of listens. Knowing all this, having breaking the songs down, what can we say about Sincerely? To me, is the kind of album meant to be a companion throughout a healing journey, to make us question why we are so afraid of being vulnerable. How much do we sacrifice of ourselves and our self-worth to the external world? And how, in the process of fantasizing for heaven, do we miss out on the blessings of earth? More than just making us question about the reality of ourselves and the world, it also encourages us to let go of those emotions that do us no good. Be it anger, be it fear, be it worry. Just let them all go and use the space that they have left out for love and for yourself. Quote, listening back to the album after my life-altering event, I was able to hear so many things in the lyricism that fully encapsulate the way that I feel now. I've been able to heal myself through this album in a lot of ways, but I never knew that I was creating it for that purpose. And that was Sincerely by Kali Uchis 2025. Amazing year, another one for 2025 along with Mayhem. And hey, Conan Gray is going to be releasing Wishbone in August. We are just getting fed this 2025 in regards to music, so let's keep the trend going for us. But now I'm curious, what are you guys' favorite songs of Sincerely? For me, I already said them, but it's going to be For You, Territorial, and It's Just Us because it's just art. That joke found me, and now I'm not going to be able to let it go. So tell me down in the comments below, what are your favorite songs of Sincerely? Tell me what other songs or albums you want me to review here in this channel because I am open to any suggestions, so don't be shy and let me know about them. If you want to know what I am up to, here are my social media. I'm also going to put the links down in the description below, along with the sources that I use for this video, so be sure to check those out. You guys already know the mandatory things I have to say. Like this video if you did like it, and subscribe if you want to see more of me trying to make it as a musician/journalist. I swear it's gonna be a pretty amazing journey. That is all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me and keeping me company as I ramble about music, and I will see you guys in the next one. This is Mel Flowers signing out. See you guys!